Perfect.
Gotcha.
We are recording.
Hey, everybody. This is Chuck Marone with Strong Towns. Welcome to the finals of our Strongest Town competition. We got 2 cities that have vanquished all comers thus far. We started with 16. We're now down to 2. The first round was written submissions. The second round were photo submissions. Last round, Rachel interviewed everybody and actually listened to those. I thought they were fantastic. The votes are in, and now we are down to the final 2 cities, the winner of which I'm going to visit at some point in the coming weeks or months. And we're going to shine a big bright light on the success there. But I'm excited because both of these are great competitors. We got 4 of us here today. Rachel, can you unmute yourself just for a sec? Because I want to give you an opportunity to say hi. I know you're going to do some kind of color behind the scenes as we go here. But you've been involved in every aspect of this process. Talk a little bit about where we're at now today.
Yeah, this has been a fun round and a fun contest this year. It's pretty different from last year's, especially since we had some international applicants that added a level of fun here. And yeah, I'm excited. I've gotten to know a lot of new places that I've never visited, a few that I have visited before, but neither Traverse City or Guelph have I been able to visit yet. So I'm excited to learn more about your towns.
Well, let me introduce in the lower right of my screen, I think yours too, Mayor Cam Guthrie from Guelph, Ontario. Mr. Mayor, welcome to the official championship round of the contest.
Thank you very much. And yeah, it's been an exciting time, and especially getting to know some of the other towns that are out there, strong towns. And so thank you very much for having us to be a part of this journey. It's great.
Well, thank you. And in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, from Traverse City, Michigan, we've got the planning director, Russ Soyring, with us. Russ, thanks so much for being here in the championship round. Congratulations.
Well, thank you very much. This has been a great competition. And one thing that I've learned is you learn about other great communities as you're competing against great towns.
That's right. Russ, I want to start with you, and I kind of want to walk a little bit. You guys bumped off York, Pennsylvania in the first round, which was my pick to go all the way. I think they're great. I really liked York a lot. But you beat them in probably the closest race so far. Then you took on Ellsworth, and then a city that I spoke in last year, Valparaiso, which is a great place. I want to give you a chance to, in the video portion of this, just talk a little bit about Traverse City and why it's a great place. I love the lakes. I love the downtown. I've actually been to your city, and I did find it quite enchanting. A couple little things. TripAdvisor a few years ago said you were the #2 small town travel destination. And then U.S. News listed you as one of the top 10 places to retire in the United States. Give a little bit of background on Traverse City. Who are you guys, and what makes you such a great place?
Well, it's we're blessed with a really great geographical setting. You described that. Not only do we have Lake Michigan and 400-foot high sand dunes 30 minutes away, but we also have 149 acres and 49 vineyards, and I think there's 18 brew pubs that are all in nearly walking distance of where I'm talking right now in downtown Traverse City. But I think what really makes Traverse City a really great destination is people that have moved here. They moved here because they want to be here. And then when they do come, they come with an attitude that we want to make sure this stays a very nice town, and we will offer our talents and our expertise to make this a better town. If we were a basketball team, I think Traverse City would lead in the assists because they're ready to assist in all different ways, from cleaning up our beaches to providing volunteer service at our State Theater downtown. So, in fact, we'll have free movies coming up because of spring break. And they're just ready to offer their talents and their expertise.
Cam, I want to talk a little bit about Guelph. I was so happy when we had 2 competitors from Ontario. I've been able to go to Ontario a few times in the last couple of years with Strong Towns. I've not been to Guelph, but my good friend Joe Minicozy has. And he has spoken to no end about how great this place is and really how high you guys score financially. I don't know if you know Joe or not, or have met him when he was out there.
No, I don't. I don't think I have, but I like him already. If you've already.
Well, Guelph is a city on the outskirts of Toronto. You guys have a low crime, great environment, strong workforce, and a beautiful city in many, many ways. I want to give you the same opportunity to talk a little bit about Guelph and why it's such a special place and why you think it's such a strong competitor in this contest. By the way, you guys bumped off Brampton, which is another Canadian city there in Ontario, then Wausau, Wisconsin, and then I have to say my number 2 city, which was Lafayette, Louisiana, a place that I kind of have a soft spot for because of how hard they have worked at the whole Strong Towns concept. So you guys had a tough road to get here too. Talk a little bit about Guelph and what makes it a special place.
Sure. Well, thanks again for the question. And I always say this, it really, and very honestly, is it's not a mayoral politician answer. It is definitely the people here. We are a very close-knit community, and even though we're growing, we're about 132,000 people right now, and the province is looking at different growth targets for our city to actually get up to maybe just over 190,000 people by 2041. And even though as we're growing very rapidly, we still have that close-knit feel in our community. And so our communities, yes, you mentioned things about, low crime rate and great for jobs. And yes, that's all very true. But we're also well known for, we're one of the strongest towns in Canada for volunteerism rates, for giving, for, just making sure that we're one of the top 10 cities in Canada for welcoming newcomers to Canada. So we just really roll out the red carpet, and you sometimes hear that, roll out the red carpet statement when you're talking about businesses. But we roll out the red carpet for everybody, whether it's businesses or people to come to our city. And so, it's just, it's an amazing experience to be the mayor of a city that is really this great.
I want to ask you, Cam, part of what we talk about at Strong Towns is the resiliency of a community, the ability to kind of overcome adversity and bounce back and be strong and resourceful. One of the ways we measure that is to talk about the kind of diversity of businesses. Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about one of the things in our strength test is if you lost your largest employer, would it sink your city? Would your city, really struggle and go, go off the map? Talk a little bit about the strength and diversity of the employment opportunities there. And, do you know your largest employer? If they went away, what would happen to you? Could you withstand that? Is there enough resiliency there to help you get through something like that?
Okay, so that's a really great question. And so about, I would say 10 years or so ago, the city created a document, sort of a guiding document called Prosperity 2020. And what we're doing with that is it really identified how to make sure that we diversify our workforce. We are and have been always pretty heavy in automotive. Linamar is the major corporation here in Guelph, and I would say that they in Guelph employ about 10,000 people alone. But what we've done over the last 10 years is really concentrate on trying to diversify our economy. So actually back in 2008, when we all had the recession, in 2008 through those years, Guelph was one of the ones that actually weathered those recession storms really, really well. And then further to that, we have one of the lowest unemployment rates in Canada. And we are also one of the best cities for full-time employment in Canada. And so even if, Linamar, and we never want this to happen,
right.
It did not be here, our diversification of our economy has really been built. And we're really into sort of clean tech, agri-food sector, in renewables, a lot of innovation that we've really gone into in the last several years, which is helping to kind of balance that, worst case scenario out, as you would have described it there in your question.
Now, Russ, Traverse City is a city a little bit the size of the one I live in. My city is about 14,000. You guys are slightly bigger than that. That gives you a little bit of a different challenge when it comes to jobs and dependency on one or two sectors or one and two employers than a place like Guelph has, which you guys are, Cam, 120,000 people? Is that about right?
132,000.
Okay. So, we're at a different scale. Russ, can you talk a little bit about employment opportunities there, some of the resiliency? I know there's a lot of tourism type industry and business there. How did things happen, during the downturn for you guys in 2008? And what's your kind of resiliency situation when it comes to jobs and employment and diversification?
Sure. We have a great diversity of businesses. We don't have large business. Probably our largest sector business is Sarah Lee. But if we close down, I don't think you would really notice the big change in the economy in this area. We have a lot of very small businesses, and entrepreneurship with cottage industry is very big. Our largest employer is the regional hospital, Munson Medical Center. Now, if that closed down, that would be pretty significant because one of the reasons healthcare, and that hospital is one of the top 100 hospitals in the United States. So that would be pretty big if we lost Munson Medical Center. But we have a lot of small businesses that are coming here, and they are growing, and there only are 2 or 3 or 4 people that are in these shops, but they are a major part of our economy. One thing that we are focused on is for resiliency, is to make sure that this is a place that draws people. And one of the things that we can do is really make this a great place. So placemaking is very important. One thing that we are challenged with, though, is because it's such a desirable community, the housing stock is rather limited and the housing prices have gone up quite a bit. So our greatest threat, perhaps, is affordable living. So we're really working at ways to give incentives to build workforce housing. So, because that's going to be key. Some of the businesses in the summer now are having a hard time staying open late at night or opening up their cafes outside on the patios because they don't have enough staff. So it's really important that we have affordable living, affordable housing, so these workers can come here and live in our town and provide the services that we like.
I want to talk a little bit about regulation. And this may be, I'm going to start with Russ on this one. Cam will give you a little bit of time to think things a little bit, because I know this is Russ's kind of bailiwick as the town planner. I want to ask one of the questions from the strength test, and it goes like this: imagine your favorite street in town didn't exist today. Imagine that it's no longer there. Could I come in and build it? Are your rules and regulations set up that would allow me to essentially repeat and rebuild the best stuff in your community? Or is that going to be a too great of an obstacle? So Russ, if you wouldn't mind starting with that one.
Yeah, thanks for a pretty easy question. I appreciate that very much. The answer is yes. You could build exactly the best part of our towns. Probably if you go to one of the travel sites and say what to do in Traverse City, they'll say go to downtown and go on Front Street. And what Traverse City has done in their zoning code back I think it was probably in the 70s, maybe in the 60s, we eliminated any parking requirements for our downtown. And I think that's critical, because when you have a parking requirements in the downtown, that really hurts the opportunity to try to build, because first of all, lots are very small, and where do you park if you don't have, if you want to have a very walkable downtown, if you have a continuous storefront. We also allow for multiple stories. We allow for residential. We allow for office. We allow for retail. All those are permitted by right. Setbacks are only 2.5 feet off the sidewalk on the street, 0 on the side, and 5 feet on the rear. So basically, you can build 95% of your property with a multi-story building, mixed use, and do it by right. No parking requirement again. So I think that's key for our town. there are other areas of our community that we embrace the mixed use. We embrace the walkable community. So we have some work to do on some of our corridors, and we're working toward developing a form-based code where development would be allowed by right, and we're going to probably reduce our park requirements. We reduced them in half the rest of the town. We're probably going to reduce them even further now.
Cam, I wonder about the same thing with you. I spent some time on in Google just looking around the streets in the city, and there's some beautiful stuff there. There's some great urban fabric. There's some really great streets. I hope if I get to Guelph, we could go downtown and grab a bite to eat. It looks like a wonderful place to hang out. If some of that stuff just disappeared tomorrow, or if someone came in and said, yeah, I'd like to build a similar thing, is that going to be possible? I mean, could we make that happen there within the systems and the rules that you have set up?
This kind of a question. A few years ago, we had a big fire downtown on one of the nicest little streets that we have. I would call, in my opinion, one of the nicest, which is Douglas Street. The Dummer building actually burnt. And so, having to develop that on one of the most special streets going was an unbelievable undertaking for the private sector and, of course, the city with the regulations. But they came together. It was all hands on deck. The city provided heritage grants to save the outside facade of that building, and we worked with the developers to make sure that things were done quickly and on time to make sure that place could be rebuilt. And since that time, that little street, that Douglas Street, we've had several movies shot there, and I would have to say that because of the city helping with heritage facade grants and keeping that character and vibe of that little street the way it was before the fire, we've been able to get a lot of economic development from that end of it, from movies and things like that on that street. Further to that, because of course, I'm sure all of our downtowns are quite beautiful. We, in the last 5 years, have seen massive growth in a lot of sort of almost like brownfield sites within our downtown core. So we have downtown activation grants that we've given to developers because it's very difficult to always build and construct in downtown cores. And if I turn to my computer around and showed you my window, you can see 2 towers there now that have been built in the last just a few years. And that's because of us embracing that type of development in the downtown core.
I want to stick with you, Cam, and talk a little bit about food. One of
You're talking to the right guy then. Go on.
All right, perfect. One of the resiliency things that we talk about at Strong Towns is local food production. And, we're all here, northern climate kind of places. Rachel's in Milwaukee, I'm in Minnesota. Michigan and Ontario both are northern climate kind of places. People have lived here for a long time. They've grown their own food. I'm wondering, if I came to Guelph and we wanted to eat locally grown food, are we going to be able to do that? And what kind of what kind of availability would I have?
That's a great question too. So I mentioned when I'm talking about the diversification of our economy, how we're really big in the agri-food sector, and that has a lot to do with our great university, the University of Guelph. I could, you literally can walk about 30 feet on every street in our downtown core, and you'll find local food everywhere. Majida is one place, 39 Carden Street is another. I could go on and on. One unique guy that I know that just started as an entrepreneur, he's called the Bread Bandit. And what he does is when that restaurant called Majida I just talked to you about shuts down for the night, he actually goes in and he uses the residual heat from the stoves and the ovens to make his bread at night. And then the next day by bicycle, he will deliver the bread all over town to people. So that's
so cool.
It is. It's really great, Rachel. So this is the type of culture that we have in our city when it comes to that resiliency and sustainability. And we also have a lot of community gardens in town as well that the town really supports the development of.
Russ, talk a little bit about local food opportunities in Traverse City. If I'm there, are we going to be able to eat a good selection of local food?
Yeah, you sure will. We're first of all, we're the cherry capital of the United States, so certainly you're going to have cherries on your salad for sure, and probably have a cherry pie afterwards. But we really have diversified our agricultural products, and for instance, even on our breweries that we're starting to grow hops now, so we can use more of the local ingredients when we're making our local beverages. There's our organization in downtown Traverse City called Groundworks Center for Resilient Communities, and they've been working really hard at bringing local foods, fresh foods to the school kids. And they introduced it with fresh apples initially, and then they got additional fresh type of produce. And they found out that the kids actually loved having fresh food versus the packaged type of food that they were getting. Much healthier type of food, but the restaurants really love to tout. They'll even put in bold and put a little TC, Traverse City, next to it or something if it's local food. So we have fishery, local fishery. We seem to be diversifying our products, and I think this is really helping the farmers. Our farmers are providing this really great setting for Traverse City in the first place, but they can also make a profit now, and by recycling those dollars right back into our community. And I think people are seeking out for the local taste, and we do certainly celebrate the local food scene.
I want to come back to the strength test here in a sec, but before we do that, I want to ask a little bit about the context of your local governments. Russ, you're in Michigan. Michigan is home to Detroit, home to a lot of struggling cities. The state itself has kind of struggled in many ways. I'd like you to talk a little bit about some of the challenges and also maybe some of the benefits of being in, one of these states that here in the United States is kind of a purple place, a manufacturing place, a state that has, both seen in some ways better days, but I think also has a lot of opportunity. Can you talk a little bit about being part of Michigan and what that has presented for you guys?
Sure. Michigan had probably one of the slowest growth rates, probably one of the weakest economies with the car industry really collapsing. Some of our manufacturers here, the small ones, are producing parts for the automobile, so it certainly took a hit on some of our local manufacturers. But then revenue sharing has dropped back from the state of Michigan. It keeps on. They're supporting our local communities less and less. So we have to come up with our money ourselves. And one thing that we're doing is that we're being very careful and very thoughtful with our expenditures of dollars. We are investing in our existing infrastructure that is aging, that we want to make sure, for instance, our water quality is critically important for attracting people to be here. The blue water is more than just clear water, but it's healthy water too, that we can pull it for drinking water, and we can fish out of it, we can swim in it. So we're taking care of the infrastructure that we have, and I think we can't depend on the state or the federal government for helping us out in all these different ways. So instead of doing grandiose type of projects, we're really focused on repairing curbs, repairing pipes underground, repairing the streets that we have. And I think that's helping to build a good economy, because people want to see a well-kept, well-maintained type of town. And so, just constantly adding to the quality of our community by fixing and repairing is really an important part of our economy strength.
Cam, a lot of people here in the United States just assume that up in Canada you've got everything figured out and everything, all the kids are above average, as we say here in Minnesota. I've been there. I know you struggle with many of the same things that we do here south of the border. Yet, Toronto is one of these places that is kind of the rising tide that raises all boats, but also can kind of capsize some at times and overwhelm a little bit. Can you talk a little bit about the dynamics of being a mayor in a city in Ontario? What kind of challenges from a governmental standpoint that creates, and maybe some of the benefits or things you've overcome there?
Yeah, so I think one of the challenges I think all cities have in Ontario, especially when it comes to business climate. Um, you know, you can only do so much as a city, as the mayor, as council, and the ecosystem of businesses in town, chambers of commerce, things like that, to be super welcoming to businesses, and we are. But then there's the provincial climate, which you have no control over. So, if it's transportation networks that are just outside of your city, or if they're hydro rates or things like that, you have no control over that. And I know in the States, incentive type of programs are available to maybe cities and states and counties that can say, well, if you come here, we'll give you A, B, and C. Well, the laws in Ontario do not allow municipalities to do that. So it's a little bit different, definitely, from the way the States is to compare it to Canada. But how do we overcome that part? That was the second part of your question. We continue to be a town that people really want to come and be at. And compared to the GTA area, Toronto, as you mentioned, we're still only, 45 minutes to an hour away on a good day. But we are a lot less money when it comes to trying to buy a house in Toronto. And we are continually trying to work with the province on trying to build really great transportation networks, a high-speed rail, GO train service, rail service to and from our area, so we can get people and skilled talent back and forth between the GTA areas into our communities and to others along a corridor. And so that's some of the stuff that we're working on with the other levels of government. But being just outside of that GTA area is pretty attractive to a lot of people, for especially when you hit Guelph.
I'm going to ask one more question and then give you each a chance to kind of wrap up, kind of make a final pitch for your communities. But before we get to that, I want to ask one questions about biking and walking, and particularly when it comes to kids in the communities. One of the indicators that we have found that really shows that a place is on the right track is how free kids feel like they can move around the community.
Yeah.
Is it a safe place to be? Is it safe for them to bike around? Is it safe for them to walk around? Does the community embrace that, or is that some kind of an odd thing? If you see a kid out walking, do you call the cops and say, "Hey, there's a kid here," or is it, something that is a normal, regular occurrence? Cam, can we start with you? What's the question we have in the strength test is it safe for children to walk or bike to school and do other activities without adult supervision? When we're talking about Guelph, am I going to see a lot of kids out around? Am I going to see them taking part in the community? Are they independent?
Yeah, so I have two kids that have both grown up here, 14 years old and 12 years old, and I pushed them out of the house when they were 2 years old. No, I was kidding. Don't tell my wife that one. It's a completely safe community, and sometimes downtown cores in every city are very more dense. And what I've tried to do as we've been planning our city out is having a lot more of close-knit neighborhoods where that walkability and cycling and trail connections can all be happening all around the city, and not just in certain areas. This term of council, we built separated bicycle and pedestrian pathways, so that people can feel a lot safer being off the roads and on networks to get back and forth to work or for leisure. And we have some really great community groups, Guelph Bikes and Guelph Cycling and Active Transportation group in town. They really advocate for that type of development. As we're building new subdivisions and new areas of town, we want to make sure that we're pre-planning for those types of walkable communities, or neighborhoods within our community. And we have a bicycle master plan that we approved in the last term of council. And so we're doing really well on all that. And so yes, kids can actually absolutely feel safe and go out here anywhere in Guelph.
Russ, Traverse City, how would you say you guys are doing in terms of younger people being able to walk and bike and having a lot of mobility options for themselves?
Yeah, we've been working on trying to make Traverse City as walkable as possible, and we've had some people from out of town, like Dan Burden, come in Walkable Communities at the time to show and inspire us further. But we're a town, of course, a lot smaller than Guelph, and we have a budget of about $14 million. But the city manager is about to propose a $4.5 million bond proposal to build many, many more miles of sidewalks in town. We have already over 80 miles of sidewalks. Most of our streets, I'm going to say about 80% of our streets have sidewalks on both sides of the street. The street that you see right here is a 27-foot wide brick street, and the sidewalks are 8 feet wide on both sides. So it's a very comfortable street. It's one of my favorite streets in town. In fact, we use that as a template for building new streets. Our new streets we're building at 27 feet wide, and we're building sidewalks throughout the area. We've experimented with the Wiener, maybe one of the first walking streets, a pedestrian street in downtown Traverse City, Garland Street. And we're experiencing that. That's something brand new for our area, and it's going to be a very interesting study. But so far, it's been very successful. One other thing I do want to mention is that we have a program called Safe Routes to School, and maybe you know about that we're entering into. And we are working very diligently with the neighborhood schools to build walking environments so those kids, all the kids in all the schools, can feel very safe walking to school.
Now, last summer, my wife and I moved from a place we built 20 years ago on the outskirts of town to the middle of a core neighborhood. So last year I was able to talk to our contestants about me moving and my family moving, but my wife said one move every 20 years. So I'm not going to be moving, at least for the next 2 decades, to Traverse City or Guelph. But I know there are people who are watching who may be interested in moving to one of your places, or at the very least visiting, which I will be doing. Let me give you as a way to kind of sum up, and I'll start with you, Russ. Is there if you were going to make a pitch to someone for why they would want to move and live in and be part of your community, how would you phrase that? Give me the elevator speech to someone who's saying, I'm thinking about moving. Why Traverse City?
Well, I'll tell you, there's an astronaut that lives in our area. He was flying around the world, and he was checking out the different parts of the country as he was flying over and trying to decide where he wants to live when he retires and everything. He was very intrigued about the Traverse City area with those bays and those blues and greens and those peninsulas jetting out into Lake Michigan. And then he came here, and now he's retired here. And I think that is what draws a lot of people. If you like an active lifestyle with clean environment, with many things to do out in the countryside, and to be engaged in a four-season type of town, this is a town you'd like to be. These big ice caves occasionally will show up on Lake Michigan, but then you have sandy beaches in the summertime for kayaking and for boating. One of the best places for cross-country skiing. We're blessed with lake effect snow, so we get phenomenal snows for skiing. And then for the biking in the wintertime. It's really becoming a four-season town. So if you like to be physically fit with clean air, clean environment, this is the place you want to be. And if you really like a lot of culture, even though we're a very small town, we have some big city type of restaurants and cultural activities with the Interlochen Arts Academy that has students from all over the world putting on some very high-class performances. So you might be out kind of in a rural area, but you almost feel like you're in a big city and with a great natural environment.
Cam, I would. There's a lot of Americans that have considered relocating to Canada over the past couple months. I'm not sure what that's about, but I've always thought that it would be beautiful to move north. I love it in Canada. Every time I've been there, I've been enchanted. Why would I choose Guelph? Why would someone, either in Canada now or looking to move to Canada, why would they want to end up in your city?
Well, I guess I'll end where I sort of started. It is about our people, and our businesses we're just fantastic people. Our culture and our vibe is just, you just can't go anywhere without making eye contact with somebody and saying hi on the street, and how's your day going? It really is that type of a town, and there is always something going on at some point every day, an activity that you can choose to go to, and it doesn't matter if you're older or younger. There's something for everybody. And so we have an OHL team here, a hockey league team here, the Guelph Storm. We have great theaters. We've always been very strong in festivals as well. So we have the Jazz Festival, and we have Art on the Street. I think one of the pictures you showed there was Art on the Street, where we closed down some streets in the downtown core. We have the Hillside Festival. In fact, our city just won an award just a couple weeks ago for the Municipality of the Year for our tourism for our city. So there's just always something to do. But I do want to stress this, that because I gave you those numbers earlier, we're 132,000 people. The province wants us to be 190,000 people within 20 or so years. And what we're doing deliberately as a council and as a government is working with the community alongside as a partnership, that as we grow, we do not lose that culture. We do not lose that important vibe that Guelph has to offer. And then the backbone of that, the foundation of that, I guess, is again about our economy. The fact that you can find a job here, and that it's a really good place to sort of land. So yeah, I know that might seem mayoralish.
You're the mayor.
But it's not. I'm saying it very authentically. I have a family here that's been here forever, and I just love it. So it's a great place to be.
Well, this has been a fantastic contest, and I'm very grateful to the two of you. It's been wonderful to be able to highlight your great communities, the good work that you've been doing. We really try to take this contest as an opportunity to show people things that can go well if you do things right, places that are working really well. And I'm just honored that the two of you not only had your community submitted, but have taken the time to share your insights and your thoughts and the great things about your place. I look forward to visiting as part of this contest, one of the two of you, and getting to know your community a little bit more. And then I hope that the other one I ultimately run into again as well. So Planning Director from Traverse City, Russ Soyring, thank you so much for being here, and congratulations.
Thanks, Chuck. Thanks. Great job.
And
good luck, Cam.
Yeah. Mayor Cam Guthrie from Guelph, Ontario. Again, thank you so much for being part of this. I really do appreciate it. You've got a beautiful city.
Well, thank you, and good luck to you too, Ross. I wrote down on my piece of paper here that you have really good cherry pie.
Hey,
I was listening. So maybe I'll take you up on that pie one day, okay?
Very good. I know you got a good brewery, Sleeman Brewery there.
Yes, we got lots of good breweries, yeah.
All right. Thank you, everybody. And thanks, everybody, for watching. Make sure you go to the website, strongtowns.org, cast your vote. We'd like to hear from you and name the strongest town in the universe, I think is what we said. 2017. So thanks, everybody. Take care.
Bye. Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.